We've got an article here talking about Israel's desire to control up to 75% of the Gaza Strip. To be honest with you, that's probably going to eventually turn into 100% of the Gaza Strip. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am your favorite Zionist prince, Tal the Traveling Clat. Let's get into this little news update on Gaza. There's an article here from the Wall Street Journal. Came out yesterday, I believe. Yeah. So the title is Israel aims to control 75% of Gaza in 2 months, military says. Israel also presses ahead with aid distribution plan after chief executive of program resigned, saying it wasn't possible to implement while remaining neutral. This is coming from Dov Lieber, a Jew, I assume. And we'll take a little look at this article. Sorry, switching here to Euronews. Israel Defense Forces told local media it shifted focus from fighting Hamas to capturing territory and controlling food distribution. Israel's military has revealed that they plan to control 75% of Gaza within 2 months. Local media reported, and I can confirm here the rhetoric in Israel on the ground where I am right now is definitely following that line. It comes as Israel continues to ramp up its offensive in Gaza in what it says is a bid to pressure Hamas to release the remaining Israeli hostages. As part of its expanding military operation, Israel said it will launch a new aid delivery mechanism on Monday, would push the Palestinian population to 3 small zones in Gaza. This is the most important part of this article. This is basically the final plan for Gaza, which is to push all of the Palestinian population to these 3 small zones. Anybody outside of those 3 small zones is a target, a military target. There's warnings and already leaflets being dropped. I believe there was a evacuation order sent for Khan Yunis already today. So this is probably the most notable thing to remember about this article. The IDF is mobilizing this idea of pushing the entire Gazan population, civilian population, to 3 small zones so they can divide up Gaza and conquer it fully. And then they would occupy the remaining 3/4 of Gaza. The Israeli Defense Forces revealed its renewed offensive in the Strip is no longer about fighting Hamas, but instead about capturing territory, controlling food distribution, and destroying Hamas's infrastructure. Local media reported on Sunday. There has been a plethora of footage coming out of Hamas using, or first of all, Hamas tunnel shafts being found by the IDF, but also Hamas, I think there was footage of an IED, I can't show this footage on screen, of an improvised explosive device being brought in on a gurney, on a stretcher, as if it was an injured civilian, and people, obviously Hamas members dressed in plain clothing. Something to remember about Hamas at the moment. So Mohammed Sinwar, the brother of Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind of October 7th and then military leader of Hamas in Gaza, they're both dead. Ismail Haniyeh is dead. This movement of Hamas is crippled completely. What is left of Hamas? And I really need you to take this framework and not get offended by it, because I'm telling you the truth as an Israeli citizen who lives amongst these people. Hamas is now the voice of the radical Palestinian population. Unfortunately, a majority of Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza are radical. It doesn't mean it speaks for all of Palestinians, but it means that the overwhelming majority of Palestinians probably do support Hamas to a certain extent, especially in Gaza. Just considering the plain fact that $5 million has been on the table for any information about a hostage in Gaza, to zero avail for almost a year now. There has been zero interest of anybody in Gaza to come up with this information. We've seen very small and limited protests that get quelled by Palestinian civilians who reject Hamas, but they have been very small. They've been very limited. They haven't blown up in popularity, and it's not something that you see most of the Gazan population rising against. So we have to assume a majority of the Palestinians still support Hamas. And that's it lines up with the rhetoric that we've seen from Gaza in the last year. Hamas previously said it would release all the hostages, and this was, some sort of ceasefire deal that was accepted by Hamas yesterday for a lasting ceasefire and Israeli military withdrawal from the territory. That's off the tables now. Israel in no way, shape, or form, has to leave the Gaza Strip anymore. We're done. I don't think we're ever exiting moving forward. I don't know if Israel is going to fully take back the Gaza Strip, but it's not leaving the Gaza Strip, at least not militarily, in the foreseeable future. So that's already done for Hamas. They don't really have that negotiating space anymore. They had ample opportunities to take a ceasefire deal and never did. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, however, rejected the terms and said that Israel plans on taking control of all of Gaza and wants to establish a new system to distribute aid that circumvents the military group. Hamas then responded, by the way, with saying that anybody that collaborates with the occupation is seen as a threat and will be dealt with. So basically, the Israeli, which is smart, Israel honestly should have done this from the beginning. I understand the risks, but having Gazans deal with their own aid was a huge mistake. We can see that in retrospect. Maybe we thought we can kind of trust them with that, but we can't even trust them with that. So now Israel is going to find a new way to circumvent Hamas to bring in aid, which is going to disrupt the whole system because Hamas steals the aid and sells it so they can make money and keep funding their fucking terrorism. So we're in a situation now where Hamas is now further threatening the Palestinian population, saying if you collaborate with the occupation by, going to get aid because you're fucking starving, quote unquote, we're going to kill you. Israel blocked all food, medicine, and fuel from entering Gaza for almost 3 months, which prompted global criticism and widespread concerns about the critical roast of famine. This is absolutely incorrect. They did not block all food, medicine, and fuel from entering Gaza for 3 months. Food has been entering Gaza. Medicine has been entering Gaza. Fuel has been entering Gaza for the last 3 months. Limited capacity, which, again, we don't have to bring any aid or fuel or what. We don't owe them anything. We're at war with them after they attacked us. We don't owe them anything. No other country on planet Earth supplies aid to the people attacking them and holding their hostages. But still, Israel has, to a limited capacity, especially compared to what we were doing before, to a limited capacity, which makes sense when you're fighting a war. But yes, that was fake right there. That's not true. Last week, Israel finally let a trickle of aid into the Strip, although aid organizations in the UN warned that the amount of aid distributed is not enough. All right, it's never enough because the Gazan population is forever in starvation crisis, even though nobody has died of starvation in Gaza. Israel is also pursuing a new U.S.-backed plan to control aid to Gaza, but the American leading the effort unexpectedly resigned on Sunday, citing it had become clear that this organization would not be allowed to operate independently. The UN previously said it would not be involved in the U.S.-backed plan because it is impartial, neutral, or independent. Over the past 24 hours, Israeli strikes have killed at least 38 people, including children, health officials said. Health officials is Hamas, so it's not health officials, it's Hamas. The toll does not include hospitals in the battered north, which remain inaccessible as they are encircled by Israeli troops. So Euronews giving us a little bit of a biased reporting here, but reporting nonetheless. We'll talk a little bit more about the technicalities here coming from the New Arab News. The area already home to hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians living in tents has repeatedly been targeted by Israeli airstrikes despite being labeled a humanitarian zone. Yes, a humanitarian zone that Hamas uses to carry out attacks on Israel, like firing rockets, which it has multiple times in the last week on communities in southern Israel. But we don't need to address that, right? Military spokesperson Avishai Adre told residents to leave immediately ahead of what he called an unprecedented attack. Since mid-March, Israel has issued dozens of displacement orders across Gaza. According to the UN, nearly 500,000 people have been forced to flee in the past 10 weeks alone. October 7th seems like a great idea in retrospect, correct? Supporting Hamas and holding hostages continuously till this day seems like a fantastic idea in retrospect, no? Seems like a really, really, really good idea. You must be winning this war, Palestine, right? This is the Ummah, the strong Arab people. You guys are winning this war, absolutely. Current Israeli army estimates suggest that around 1 million people remain in Gaza City. 700,000 have been pushed into Al-Musawi, and another 300,000 to 350,000 are sheltering in central Gaza. According to documents seen by the Washington Post, the Army and the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, an NGO created by Israeli officials to manage aid, plan to construct a network of camps in three zones. These would be guarded by American private security contractors designed to hold tens of thousands of civilians each, which I believe this plan is kind of off the table now. So here's the last sort of thing I want to address here. Far-right ministers in the Israeli government have openly declared their goal of wiping out what remains of Gaza and carrying out an ethnic cleansing of its population. I need to counter this ethnic cleansing situation in the most intellectually honest way I can. I keep hearing this bullshit about Israel ethnically cleansing Gaza. Explain to me real quick, okay? Are Gazans an ethnicity? Are Palestinians an ethnicity? Yes or no? They're not. They're Arabs. Arabs is the ethnicity, right? I don't believe that they're Arabs, but you believe in your narrative that they're Arabs. Fine. They're Arab people. Okay, what is the difference between a Gazan and a Jordanian? What is the difference between a Gazan and an Iraqi? If they're all Arabs, they're all Arabs, right? Now, let me further ask you a question. Jews, you say have no right to this land. We are, we're just, especially Mizrahi Jews, we're Arab Jews, we're Arabs. So hold on. If 70% of the Israeli population is made up of brown and black Mizrahi Jews, okay, like myself, and if 20% of the Israeli population is literally Palestinian or Israeli Arab, If they start moving into Gaza and the Palestinians that are just Arabs, the same way that we're Arabs, if we just replace that population, what's the issue? How is it an ethnic cleansing? If Palestinians from one part of Israel move into where Palestinians are now, how is that an ethnic cleansing? What ethnicity are you cleansing? I thought we're all Arabs. Aren't we just all Arabs? You got to explain that logic to me. Because if Palestinians are their own ethnicity, then I need to understand why I am not my own ethnicity. You see where the double standard works there? You've got to decide what your lingo is. You can't choose it being an ethnic cleansing now, but if the same Arabs, we're all Arabs, no? If we move in, how would that be an ethnic cleansing? I need to understand. If the Gazans, who are all Arabs, are an extremely problematic population, who are incapable of governing themselves and consistently feed into terrorism, and you just replace that Arab population with a new Arab population, explain to me how it's an ethnic cleansing, please. We're all Arabs, aren't we? Go, I'm waiting. I'll wait for your logic in the comment section down below. And please do support the channel. I'm actually working on trying to make this news show a little bit more structured moving forward. I'm actually looking to maybe work with a actual IDF spokespeople unit to help me get the right information. So I'm working on that. If you do want to support the channel, financially is the best way so I can actually build a framework, buying some merchandise, supporting on Patreon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, clats. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.